Hi, I'm Philip Ulrich. I'm from Canterbury Christchurch University. This study is looking at how our sense of smell or olfaction interacts and affects risk-taking behaviours, particularly in terms of gambling. Now, online gambling is a growing activity, particularly since the pandemic, and for some it's a really enjoyable activity, but for others it can be quite addictive and quite problematic, and it's those people I'm particularly interested in. Now, risk-taking has been associated with levels of physiological arousal, so correlations showing that higher risk-taking is associated with higher or increases in heart rate. Now, something else that affects that is scent. As we get different smells, it can manipulate our levels of arousal. So things like peppermint or even malodors like isovaleric acid, which is a cheesy feet smell, they're known to increase levels of physiological arousal. But conversely, other smells like lavender have been known to reduce levels of arousal. Now, the hypothesis comes around that maybe we can use smells to manipulate levels of arousal, which in turn affect risk-taking behaviours. So that's what we're hypothesizing. Does smell affect risk-taking, but also, does this vary depending on the risk-taking propensity of that individual? So we got participants into a lab and we gave them the Cambridge gambling task. For this, they have to bet a certain amount of coins on whether the token will appear behind the red squares or behind the blue. And if they get it correct, they win that stake back. During that task, we changed what smell they had under their nose. And we had a couple of measures. We either looked at average proportion bet, so what percentage of their pot did they bet, but also bet value, so the actual amount that they put down. And what we found was an interaction effect in the proportion bet data. So for only those with higher risk-taking propensity, lavender reduced the proportion bet compared to the other smells. We also found only a marginal main effect for the absolute bet value, but the same kind of pattern in that lavender was reducing bet sizes. Now this is a really interesting finding. So that's just having the smell of lavender, it reduced how much people were betting. And interestingly, this only affected the high risk-taking group. As an intervention, this is cheap, it's easy, it's socially acceptable, it can be done at home, it can be done anywhere. Now this is an early study and there's limitations such as we had limited control over the smell stimulation levels and we used quite a wide age range, but it has some really interesting potential and demonstrates that pervasive psychological effects that we have from our sense of smell.